Legend of Sangkuriang, the origin of Tangkuban Perahu. It was told that long ago there lived a god and a goddess who had done a mistake in the heaven and were punished to live on earth. The two were punished to do good things all their lives on earth as a boar and a dog. The goddess became a boar named Hyang and done many good deeds in the forest. Meanwhile, the god became a dog named Tumang and served as the hunting dog of a king named Sumbing Perpangkara. One day, King Sumbing Perpangkara went hunting to the forest on the edge of his kingdom where the boar Hyang lived. In the middle of the hunt, King Sumbing Perpangkara caught a nature's call. He then peed, which accidentally caught into a coconut shell. A few moments later, the boar Hyang, who was thirsty, drank King Sumbing Perpangkara's pee. Who would have thought Hyang became pregnant? King Sumbing Perpangkara, who naturally likes to hunt, went back to that forest a few months later, right as Hyang gave birth to a very beautiful baby girl. King Sumbing Perpangkara, who was hunting a deer, heard a baby's crying voice. Followed by his hunting dog Tumang, he found a baby girl who was none other than his own daughter. Attracted by the baby's attractive figure, King Sumbing Perpangkara then brought that baby home and made her his daughter with the name Dayang Sumbi. Dayang Sumbi grew into an adult as a princess with attractive figure. Her beauty was heard all over the kingdom and even heard by kings and princes from other kingdoms. In fact, a big war happened everywhere to fight over Dayang Sumbi. Seeing this, Dayang Sumbi asked his father, King Sumbing Perpangkara, to let her went away from the kingdom to seclude. King Sumbing Perpangkara at last gave his permission towards his daughter's request and gave her Tumang, the hunting dog, to accompany her. Dayang Sumbi then lived modestly while weaving in a hut at the edge of a forest. Not one of the local people knew that she was Dayang Sumbi, who was sought after by many kings and princes. One day, while weaving a cloth, Dayang Sumbi, who was drowsy, accidentally dropped her weaving tool to the floor. Dayang Sumbi felt extremely lazy to pick up that weaving tool, so she swore that she would marry anyone who picked that tool for her. Unexpectedly, Tumang was the one who finally picked up the fallen tool and gave it back to Dayang Sumbi. To fulfill the vow that she already said, Dayang Sumbi married Tumang. King Sumbing Perpangkara, who heard about it, felt ashamed. His beautiful daughter married a dog and was now pregnant. Dayang Sumbi got banished along with Tumang in the end. No one knew that Tumang was the incarnation of a god except for Dayang Sumbi. Every full moon night, Tumang could change into a handsome male. Dayang Sumbi, who was pregnant, then gave birth to a son who was also handsome. He had white skin with thick hair as black as charcoal. Dayang Sumbi named him Sangkuriang. A few years passed. Sangkuriang, who had started to reach teenage years and was skillful in hunting using a bow and arrows, was asked by his mother to hunt because Dayang Sumbi very much wanted to eat a deer's liver. Accompanied by Tumang, Sangkuriang went hunting to the forest. Not long after, Sangkuriang saw a boar ran past. He instantly aimed his arrow, but that boar swiftly ran and hid. Sangkuriang commanded Tumang to immediately chase that boar. However, Tumang knew that the boar was the incarnation of Hyang and just sat still while looking at Sangkuriang as his form of denying Sangkuriang's order. Sangkuriang was very angry with Tumang and scared Tumang by aiming his arrow to Tumang. But accidentally, he shot the arrow out of his bow and the god turned up died, pierced by an arrow. Sangkuriang, who felt scared and also desperate, then took Tumang's liver. He then brought that liver home to Dayang Sumbi while saying that it was the liver of his hunted deer. Dayang Sumbi happily cooked that liver and they ate it deliciously. After eating, Dayang Sumbi remembered about Tumang. She asked Sangkuriang about Tumang's whereabouts. Sangkuriang, who was unable to dodge, finally admitted that Tumang had died because of his arrow and that the liver they had eaten was actually Tumang's liver. Dayang Sumbi became furious. Sangkuriang had killed his own biological father. Dayang Sumbi then took a rice spoon and hit Sangkuriang's head until it bled heavily. However, the wound on Sangkuriang's heart was more severe, and he finally ran away from their home. Realizing that she had injured her own son and made him run away from home, Dayang Sumbi felt highly regretful. Sangkuriang was her only son and had accompanied her living in the forest along with Tumang. She then prayed every day and asked to someday be able to meet again with her son. Due to her diligence in praying, God gave her a gift of eternal beauty and long life. For her entire life, she would always look like a beautiful girl and would never look old. Meanwhile, Sangkuriang, who ran away with an injured head, wandered everywhere. He studied under some sages, often went in and out of the forest, until at last Sangkuriang became a celestial and mighty young man. He also defeated a lot of supernatural beings whom he met during his journey, and with his power became the master of those genies. After a few years passed, Sangkuriang went back to his home village, though he did not realize this as his birth village had totally changed. While Sangkuriang sat to take a break in a stall, he saw the figure of a woman. That woman was actually Dayang Sumbi, even though at that time both of them did not realize the identity of one another. Sangkuriang was bewitched by Dayang Sumbi's beauty and immediately fell in love. Dayang Sumbi was also attracted with Sangkuriang's handsome and gallant figure. Eventually, Sangkuriang proposed to Dayang Sumbi to marry her. One day, Sangkuriang asked permission from his soon-to-be wife to hunt in the forest. Before setting out, he asked Dayang Sumbi to tighten and tidy up his headband. How surprised Dayang Sumbi was, because when she tidied up Sangkuriang's headband, she saw a big scar. That scar looked a lot like her son's scar. After asking Sangkuriang about the cause of his scar, Dayang Sumbi got even more surprised, because she realized that in reality her future husband was her own son. Sangkuriang himself could not guess that Dayang Sumbi was his birth mother. Dayang Sumbi tried to explain that Sangkuriang was her son so that Sangkuriang annulled their marriage plan. However, Sangkuriang had lost his mind and kept persisting, only taking Dayang Sumbi's request as a passing wind. In the end, Dayang Sumbi searched and found a way so that their marriage never happened. She raised two terms to Sangkuriang. If Sangkuriang could fulfill those two terms, then Dayang Sumbi agreed to become his wife. But on the contrary, if he failed, then that marriage will be cancelled. She asked Sangkuriang to build her a lake by damming Citarum River, along with a big boat to cross it. All of those must be finished by Sangkuriang in one night before dawn breaks. To Dayang Sumbi, this is an impossible feat to be done by Sangkuriang. However, unexpectedly for Dayang Sumbi, Sangkuriang agreed to undertake her terms. That night, Sangkuriang worked hard to make a lake. While Sangkuriang cut down the trees, the pile of tree trunks he had cut down changed into a mound, which is now known as Bukit Tunggul Mountain, whilst the unused leaves, branches, and other tree parts were piled and became Burangrang Mountain. After working for half the night, Sangkuriang had finished making the lake and started to make the boat. Same as when he was making the lake, he moved the genies under his command to help. Looking at that condition, Dayang Sumbi became surprised and frightened. She didn't expect Sangkuriang was almost done with all the terms she gave before dawn came. In the end, she asked the help of the local people to spread the red clothes she had weaved at the east side of that village. Dayang Sumbi's weaved clothes glinted red on the east horizon and made the rooster crow as if morning had come. The genies who helped Sangkuriang's work also thought the day will soon come and ran away. Sangkuriang, who was left alone, also stopped his almost finished boat-making work. Sangkuriang felt disappointed because his efforts had failed. But then, he heard that the incident was done by Dayang Sumbi, who did not want to marry him. Sangkuriang then became enraged. In his rage, Sangkuriang threw away the stopper he made to dam the Citarum River eastwards, and that stopper became Manglayang Mountain. The water from that Talaga Bandung Lake he made then resulted in a flash flood that drowned the whole village. Then, with a powerful kick, the boat he made flew away and fell face down. In a flash, that boat changed into Tangkuban Perahu Mountain. Sangkuriang kept chasing after Dayang Sumbi, who ran away. When Dayang Sumbi was almost caught by Sangkuriang in Putri Mountain, Dayang Sumbi begged for God's help and successfully transformed into a jaksi flower. Sangkuriang, who kept looking for Dayang Sumbi, eventually arrived at Ujung Berung and became lost in the netherworld.